Alright, again, today is September 1st, 2020, and welcome to my classroom. Alright, yesterday we learned about the 4 types of sentences. Now, we came up with this little thing to help everybody remember what the 4 types of sentences are and what the end marks are and a little bit something about them. So maybe this will help you and you at home to get the 4 types of sentences correct. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
There are 4 types of sentences. 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 Declarative gives information. Imperative makes all the rules. Interrogative, it asks you a question. Exclamatory shows excitement. One more time. Ready? Let's bring a beat. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Y'all ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. There are 4 types of sentences. 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 Declarative gives information. Imperative makes all the rules. Interrogative asks you a question. Exclamatory shows excitement. Awesome. Alright guys, this is what we're talking about today. September 1st, 2020. We're on levels 1 through 5. Levels 1 through 5. I don't think I typed that in the comments, but here we go. Once you learn the 4 types of sentences, and we know the 4 types of sentences are declarative, imperative, interrogative, and exclamatory. Now, we talked a little bit about what goes at the end of those and in more in-depthness in the detail form. But today we're going to go more in-depth into it. We've already talked about when we did the parts of speech about what kind of when we did sentences, we talked about how sentences are made and what kind of things it takes to make a sentence be a sentence. Now today we're going to go more in depth to it because we're on time, and we're in order, and we're learning things in order. Remember, language, English, grammar before reading, and we've already gone into some reading, and also phonics also is a good key thing. But since I don't really do preschool anymore, so just kind of nipped out the phonics. But I am going to do phonics on here though, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that, so that even some of you at home that may not be good readers and want to become good readers, that segment would be a good segment for you as well. So let's take it to the board. All right. 4 types of sentences. So we went from 4 types of sentences to capital letters and end marks. Now, again, we did this a little bit on yesterday, but let's read. Now that you learned the 4 types of sentences, it's time to level up in language. And how are we going to level up? Because once you level up, you're going to go to capital letters and end marks. These are things that you should have learned in pre-K. So let's go. Rule number 1 says begin each sentence with a capital letter. What do we need to do? Begin each sentence with a capital letter. So you at home, say the rules with me, because if you say them enough to yourself, you can hear yourself. And once you can hear yourself say them, then it becomes more concrete to you. It means something to you, and then you can remember exactly as what you're supposed to do. Now, the number 1 rule for capital letters and end marks is to begin each sentence with a capital letter. So that means if I got a sentence say Itsy Bitsy Spider-Man, am I going to put an end mark at the end of it? Itsy Bitsy Spider-Man? Did they get an end mark? No, because that's not a sentence. That's one of those things that we call dependent clauses, because it lacks something. That sentence is incomplete, because for a sentence to become a sentence, it must have a subject and a verb, and the verb will appear inside of the predicate. We're making another 2-part sentence, which the sentence would then become a subject and predicate sentence. Let's go to the board. Number 2 rule for capital letters and end marks is end statements and commands with a period. Those are those declarative sentences and those imperative sentences. Statements and command A declarative sentence, it makes a statement, which means it just gives you information. It simply just tells you something. It doesn't tell you to do anything. It just tells you something, simply like I'm doing right now. I'm just telling you something. I'm just giving you some information. And commands. Commands, those are your imperative sentences. Those are kind of like rules that mom and dad lay down when they tell you, go clean up your room. Go feed the dog. Go take a bath. Go to bed. Those type of things. Those are commands. Things like that. And those type of sentences, they end with a period. Let's go to rule number 3. Rule number 3 says, end the question with a question mark. A question with a question mark? Of course. That's that little thing that has a backwards C on it with the number 1 at the bottom of it and a dot at the bottom of the number 1. That's a question mark. It says, end the question with a question mark. Now, those are sentences like those WA questions that we talked about on yesterday. Those what, when, where, why, and how type of questions. Well, when you ask those type of questions, then you're going to end those type of questions with a question mark. Let's go to rule number 4. Rule number 4 says, end an exclamatory with an exclamation point. Now, let's not confuse this word with this word. Exclamatory is the type of sentence that it is. Exclamation is the mark that it uses. Let's do that again. Exclamatory is the type of sentence that it is. Exclamation is the type of mark. Exclamation point. Why they call it exclamation point? Well, they'll tell you that that exclamation, which is the shape of a number 1, is going to have a point at the middle, or a period, or some may call it a dot. Either way, it's the same thing. Now, we're going to take some questions from inside the classroom, and then we're going to level up. Question number 1. What's up?
Why did you put an uppercase letter in Mark?
Well, that's a good question. Why did I put an uppercase letter in Mark? Because I was putting emphasis on this word. Now, these are not really sentences in sentence form. These are just simply rules. And when you write down rules, sometimes you don't have to just put them in all this special kind of form. You want to put them in a way so that certain things stand out. Now, the word mark, I wanted to stand out. So you know I mean question mark. So it stands out among all of the rest of the sentence. So, any other questions from inside? Those of you that have questions out there, be sure to answer me your questions. I will make sure that I answer them. So, whatever question you have, or if you want to invite yourself on the screen, invite yourself on the screen. Those of you on back screen, whatever you need to do, so we can get all your questions answered to 4 types of sentences, capital letters, and in marks. So, we're going to go to our books. If I can find an eraser, which I never can. Oh, it just seems to jump in my hand sometimes. Alright, let's get rid of all of this. We're getting rid of all of this. There are 4 types of sentences. 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 Help me out. Declarative gives information. Imperative makes all the rules. Interrogative asks you a question. Exclamatory shows excitement. There are 4 types of sentences. 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 Declarative gives information. Imperative makes all the rules. Interrogative, it asks you a question. Exclamatory shows excitement. Alright, guys, we're going to the board. Alright, let's read. Number 1. What does our direction say?
Add a correct and mark to each sentence.
Add a correct and mark to each sentence. And I'm sure it wants you to fix if it needs a capital letter. All right, let's go. Number one. What we got?
Do you wonder?
Is that a capital letter? I do.
Yes.
Let's go.
Do you wonder who made the first cone?
Do you wonder
Who made the first cone?
who made the first what?
Cone.
Made. I wonder that. Ah. Let's read. Do you wonder who made the first cone? Do you?
Yes.
Oh. If we're wondering who made the first cone, then this question needs an answer. Remember, questions that need an answer are what type of sentences? Interrogative. Do you wonder who made the first cone? Now, questions or sentences that requires an answer, those are called interrogative sentences. And at the end of an interrogative sentence, that's where we're going to put my friend, Mr. Question mark. So right here, at the end, we're going to put a question mark. Now, since we're here, let's go ahead and find our subject and our verb inside of this question. It's going to be a little different as though you were finding it inside of a declarative or imperative sentence, or even in an exclamatory sentence. Finding the subject and verb inside the interrogative sentence is a little bit different. Let's look at it. Do you wonder who made the first cone? What is this whole sentence about? You have to ask yourself, who or what is this whole sentence about? Who or what is this whole sentence is all about? Do you wonder who made the first cone? Who or what is it all about?
You say.
No. It does say. If it's asking a question, it's about something. It's about the cone. So they're wondering about the cone. Now, in order to find the subject and the verb, we have to turn this sentence around. First, we have to find out who or what it's all about. It's not all about you, because you're the one who's wondering. So it's not about you. What are you wondering? You're wondering about the cone. Well, here's those WH questions. Who's wondering? You are. What are you wondering about? There's the magical word what. You're wondering about the cone. What are you wondering about the cone? You want to know who made it. Who made what? Who made cone? Let's turn it around so we can find the subject and the verb. The first cone was made by who? We just turned it around. The first cone was made by who? We just turned it around and made a whole nother sentence. Now, when you're making other sentences out of question, from an interrogative sentence, sometimes you have to delete words. So let's delete these words. The first cone was made by who? Now, the first cone was made by who? We're still wondering in our minds, but it's no longer a question. It's no longer an interrogative sentence. Now it's a thought. It's a thought in our minds. The first cone was made by who? So now the subject would be the first cone. What is the predicate? Was made by who? Which words did we leave out? Do you wonder? We no longer need do you wonder, because we're turning an interrogative sentence into a statement so that we can find our subject and our verb. So the first cone was made by who? Remember, whenever you're trying to find the subject and verb inside of an interrogative sentence, some words you have to omit so that it will make sense. Also, you have to change your sentence around to a declarative sentence. Okay? Let's go to the next one. What's the next one?
The earliest cones were found in
The earliest combs were found in Italy. Italy what? Tombs? Oh, Egypt. Egypt. E-G-Y-P-T. Egypt tombs? Oh, Egyptian tomb. Egyptian. Egyptian tombs? Egyptian is capitalized? Is Egyptian capitalized there?
6,000 years old. 6,000 years old.
6,000. All right. Let's read. The earliest combs were found in Egyptian tombs 6,000 years ago. 6,000 years old. What kind of sentence is this?
They asking a question. No, they're telling something.
They're telling you something. They're giving you some what?
Some information.
They're giving you some information. What information are they giving you there?
About.
By the way, guys, this is a part of reading. Once we learn language was the 4 types of sentence part. I don't think I had it the rest of it with reading, because we're going from language to reading. So here you have language here, and then it takes you into reading. And this is helping you with your Q&A, your questions and answers, and learning how to find them in a more detailed form. Okay. What did we ask? Found in Egyptian tombs. Oh, what's the information that they gave us? What information did they give us?
The earliest comb were found in. They were telling us
Egyptian
tomb 66,000 years ago.
All right, they're telling us the information that they're giving us here is they're telling us that the earliest combs were found in Egyptian tombs. They're telling us that information. Also, the other information that's telling us, they're telling us how long. They're telling us when, okay? When did they find it? 6,000 years old. How old were the tombs, I mean? The tombs were how old? They were 6,000 years old. How do we know we're talking about the tombs? Because it says the earliest combs were found, were verb, found, were what? Were found, were what? They were found where? In. Preposition, location, in, where? See how this what, when, where, and how is working? Egyptian tomb. How old were they? 6,000 years old. The Egyptian tombs were 6,000 years old. So what kind of mark do we need there?
A period.
A period. What kind of sentence is this?
A declarative.
A declarative sentence. It is a declarative sentence. Why? Because it gives us information. And we just seen what the information was that it is giving us. Correcto. Let's go to the next one.
Next one says, look at that
Come on, we're trying to learn. Not clown.
Look at that. U-N-U-S.
Look
at that.
at that.
Unusual.
Unusual.
Comb.
Unusual pole.
Comb.
Comb.
C-O-M-B.
All right. Let's look at that. Remember, it's unusual. If it's unusual, what does that mean?
It means
Something that's unusual is what? It's something you probably haven't seen. Or it looks kind of weird, kind of funny. Like, so, if something looks kind of weird, you say, oh, look at that unusual comb.
I know what it is.
What kind of sentence is that?
It says excitement.
It's on excitement. So what kind of mark?
It looks like a one.
It looks like a one. What else? But what's it called? What's it called?
Exclamation.
Exclamation point. Exclamation point. What is the verb here?
The verb is at.
What is the verb?
Look at that unusual.
What is the verb?
Look at
What's the verb?
that unusual.
That can never be a
action
verb.
verb.
That is a, what is the action verb?
Look.
Look. Very good. Awesome. So what's the subject?
The subject is look at. Look at.
We talked about this.
Unusual.
No. Unusual is an adjective. It's describing the comb. So who are they talking to?
They talking about the comb.
Okay, I'm going to say it. Look at that unusual comb. Who am I talking to?
Unusual comb.
Look at that unusual comb. Who am I talking to?
Him.
Look at that unusual comb. Who am I talking to?
Unusual.
Who am I talking to?
Comb.
So, what is the subject?
At.
How can a person be an act?
So.
Remember the unidentified word?
You.
You. Very good. You. You is the subject because I am talking to you. You look at that unusual comb. You look at that unusual comb. So here, you would be the subject. Look would be the verb. And what would we have to do to look?
You gotta erase the bottom of the L.
Right.
And put a lowercase letter.
All right. Very good. Now, you look at that unusual comb. Now, the adjective here is
Unusual.
unusual. Unusual is the adjective.
And the predicate is look at that unusual comb.
Awesome. Look at that unusual comb. Now, what is you? What part of speech is you? You is
you. It's a person. But
it's a person, but you take the place of someone, so it is a pronoun. Pronoun. You is a pronoun. You is a pronoun. You is a pronoun. Very good. You is a pronoun. All right, let's go. Next one. If you find
a 6,000 years old comb, will you use it? Yes, I will use it. And they telling us something. No, they asking us.
year old
Asking us.
comb. Do they have a comma here?
Let's see here. They have
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that on 6,000.
And I'm going to explain that to you in a minute because we're going to get into that shortly. But not today. But one day we're going to come into this. So I'm going to go on and let you have it right now because I see it. If you find a 6,000-year-old comb, will you use
use it.
That's a really old.
Okay, here we go. If you find a 6,000-year-old comb, that comma means I'm going to pause because I know they're about to say something. So I'm going to pause. But this right here, this part is what kind of sentence? Is it independent or dependent? Not this part.
Independent.
Just this part. If you find a 6,000-year-old comb, is that dependent or independent?
Independent.
And it stand alone? Or does it need help?
It needs help.
It needs help. So what is it?
Dependent.
It's dependent. If you need help, it is dependent. So if you find a 6,000-year-old comb, it's dependent because it needs something else to help it. So instead of them just adding some more words to make subjects and verbs and predicates and all that good stuff, they put a comma because they're going to pause it. And they're going to pause it. Now they're going to completely ask you something. Will you use it? Now let's look. Is that a complete thought? Will you use it? Is that a complete thought?
Yes.
It's a complete thought. It's asking a what?
It's asking a question.
What is it asking?
It's asking, will you, if you find a 6,000-year-old comb, will you use it?
Right.
And
Will you use what?
The comb.
What comb?
The 6,000-year-old comb.
So if you find a 6,000-year-old comb, will you use it? If it's asking me a question, what kind of sentence is it?
It's a declarative.
No, it's giving.
And
It's giving information.
If you find a 6,000-year-old comb, will you use it?
Oh, that's a question.
It's
So it'll
asking
be
a
a
question.
question mark.
It'll be a question mark. So what kind of sentence uses a question mark? What kind of sentence is that?
What if I find it a question mark?
What kind of sentence
And
uses
there
a
will be
question mark?
an independent.
No, interrupt.
Interrogative. Very good. Interrogative. 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 It's my prerogative. I can learn all my sentences. It's my prerogative. I'm going to learn them this way. It's my prerogative. To learn all my sentences. It's my prerogative. I'm going to learn them this way. There are 4 types of sentences. There are 4 types of sentences. Speed it up. There are 4 types of sentences. 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 Ready? Declarative. Gives information imperative. Makes all the rules interrogative. Asks you a question. Exclamatory. Shows excitement. We thank you guys for joining us on this segment of my 4 types of sentences with capital letters and in mark. Thank you guys. We'll be back in a little while. Maybe we're going to take a long break this time because we got some things we need to finish up. And then we'll be back. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to look us up on YouTube. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but look us up on YouTube. Make sure you hit the bottom, subscribers, hit the little bell, bing, like, subscribe, share it with a buddy. Thank you guys.